G'day, welcome back. Today is the next video in the series on World Chess Championship blunders, and we've moved along now to 2010 with the match between Anand and Topalov. So remembering where we came from, we've had the reunification matches and Anand won the tournament, and then Kramnik was parachuted in to have a rematch, and now Topalov was parachuted into having a rematch because he only had to beat Kamsky, who won the World Cup, to qualify to play against Anand. There was zero friction between the players in this World Chess Championship match. If we just go to the capture screen, one of the things was that this was during the eruption of this volcano. Pronounce that at your own risk. And Anand couldn't fly there, and he asked for a 3-day extension, didn't get it, and he had to rush over there on the van. I think he was like reading Lord of the Rings or something on the way. Anyway, so sort of background of the match there, it's in Bulgaria, so obviously that's Topalov's home court, and that's what I'm saying. He beat Kamsky in the qualifying match, and then he played, and then there's the game descriptions. Just close that. You can see if you're looking there, sort of the match score. It's 6.5, 5.5 to Anand in the end. The most famous match, which I'm not going to cover, is the 12th game where it was 5.5 all heading in. Topalov had white, and there was a wild Queen's Gambit decline, I believe. Topalov made a couple of inferior sort of moves, trying to keep the game alive, because he felt that if it was 6-6, he would lose the rapid tie breaks against Anand. Fair enough, right? So that's the decision he made. So that's the overall match. Now, the interesting thing to see is we're going to cover 3 games here. Anand's blunder in game 1, Anand's blunder in game 8, and Anand's blunder in game 9. So actually, although it was 6.5, 5.5 in the end, you can see that these big blunders by Anand actually could have had a sort of quite a bearing on the overall match. In the end, he managed to win. Probably should have won by a more comfortable margin. So that's the overall match score. And then you can see here at that bottom right chart, this is game number 1, which we're going to have a look at. So let's move to the position of that game. Okay, here we are. Now, this is one of those forgotten opening prep positions. And in this position, Anand said after the game, Bishop d7 was his prep. He should have played Bishop d7. We'll see why in a minute, right? He didn't play Bishop d7. So let's have a look at what happened with the game continuation. King f7, big blunder. And then have a look. It's actually quite a sort of involved combination. Of course, Topalov spotted it, sacrifice the knight, knight takes f6. You can take back with the queen or take back with the king. Take back with the queen. This is why we're talking about take back with the queen. Just do that for a second. Then we've got rook to c7 check. And you can see the bishop had developed to d7 earlier on. This sideways attack, which is key in a lot of these lines, wouldn't have been relevant. So that's the problem there. So he couldn't take back with the queen. So the game continuation is king takes f6 and rook h3, because now the problem is we're penetrating down both files. Not good for the black king. Rook g8, blocking, check. King comes down. So you can't go in there because the pawn's covering that square. Check. Next move is not the best, but who's going to argue? Rook c7. So now you've got double rooks on the 7th. It does not look good for black. King d8. Bishop into play. Queen takes. Rook takes bishop, check, and that was the last move of the game. A continuation would be, well, take back with the rook. Then the reason why he sacrificed for the bishop is you'll have this windmill formation here. That let's just show that. If you take back with the rook, it's not what happened. Check. King e8, and obviously you can pick up pieces as well as mating in a few moves. And that was the last move of the game. So let's go back and have a look at a few of these variations here, which were relevant. So let's say king f7 here was the losing move, and bishop d7 defended. So let's have a look at what happens. Bishop d7. One line is rook g3, the same sort of continuation. Let's say rook g3. Well, actually, let's just say try this one. If you take knight, just take it. There's nothing there. That's fine, right? You protect it from this side, and you've got enough defense. And by the time the white rook gets around here, then you'll be able to organize a defense. So the knight sack doesn't work in this case. So that's why I took rook g3, get the king out of the way. And now the knight sack doesn't work once again because the rook drops, right? So those sorts of lines which come about with bishop d7. Bishop b7 also works. Go back to position, bishop b7. Bishop d7 was the best, blocking the checks along the 7th rank, and therefore black's able to defend. Okay, so what we looked at there was this first dot here, which is about move 23, where he made a mistake. He just played his opening prep in the wrong order, which we've seen before in World Chess Championship blunders. So just okay, so let's go back to the next game, which is going to be game number 8. Just let me bring that up. See a blunder by Anand again. This is a endgame blunder. So let's go to the position. King g5, and as black to move, that Anand played was a blunder. Once again, it's a little bit involved, but you think your way through it to work out what's going wrong, right? So bishop c6 was played, which was a blunder. Bishop f1 or bishop d3 were fine. So let's have a look at what's going on there. So let's go with game continuation, bishop c6. Now the problem is when the bishop was on the f1 to, I guess, a6 diagonal, could always drop back to this square and protect the pawn on h7 with the bishop. He's moved the bishop to a square where he can't do that because this square here is covered by the white pawn. So he's disabled that possibility, and makes a big difference because now the king attacks the pawn, got to defend it with the king. Now the point about that is the king was very useful guarding this pawn, but now it's no longer guarding that pawn. And we'll see what happens as time goes through, right? So advance our pawns, can't really do much. Advance our pawns, can't really do much because the bishop can't come off this diagonal now because the black king is too far away to stop the pawn. So there's two reasons why diverting the king away was a big advantage for white. Paralyze the black king, and now we can't protect this pawn because this pawn will advance, take it, and that's obviously a winning endgame. I go back way back here. If we'd gone to bishop f1 instead, right? That same maneuver, just let's continue it. Well, actually, just grab this pawn, but we can also just go there. That also draws. So yeah, because this enables black king can still cover the pawn and can stop that pawn from advancing. So everything works. So that bishop c6 just minor oversight towards the end of the game, and as you can see in the score chart here, just sort of that lost the game from a dead drawn position. Okay, so that's game number 8. So you can see Anand's giving Topalov lots of favors here. So let's move on to the next game, game number 9. Okay, so this is another one of Anand's blunders where he was winning the game. You can see he was like +4, +500, and one move, and it was a draw. So, and actually you can see earlier there's some blunders around move 40 as well. Anand was all over this game and then just missed a couple of winning opportunities. I'll go to this earlier example, actually. You got king e8, got this position here. Played rook takes h7, gave away a lot of the benefit. Should just play knight takes e6. Just put that line. So rook takes h7 was played. Take that. And you can see everything's lined up on the king here, right? So it's actually, situation might be grab there. This knight's paralyzed. This rook's just grabbing everything on the 7th rank, and that's a winning position. But that's earlier blunder. The main blunder to look at is the one which they talk about in the Wikipedia page. Positions here. It's actually quite a complex position. Black has a couple of far advanced pawns, but the black king's in a kind of very exposed situation, and that's what should be taken advantage of. Now, look here. King g3 was played, which was a mistake, and the winning line was, for instance, rook g7. Let's go king g3 and just see what happened, right? This gives the queen that extra tempo to get out and across. It's typical. Let's say we didn't play rook to g7, he played rook back to g4, attacking the pawn, push the pawn, check, going to cross the knight, and you can see this position now. It's fairly drawish, okay? So back here, instead of king g3, double move to win was the double rooks on the 7th. And then black can push his pawns. Part of the problem is the queen's quite trapped here. Okay, now we play king g3, but obviously this is king g3, so white's effectively got another tempo in here by doubling rooks. Now we play queen a1, check. I'm not going to go through all that. Let's try king b8. Let's see what happens in king b8. We go check, take the pawn, got the pawn, and this is supposed to be winning. It would still be difficult to win. Obviously, you've got to move your king somewhere where you're not exposed to perpetual check, but versus that other line I showed earlier, you'll basically pick up black's 2 pawns, and you still have the knight and the 2 rooks. Obviously, a lot of opportunities both for defending the king with the knight and also for checkmating the black king. Okay, so that was game number 9, and then as you look at this game score here, score was even, and then should have been head. Score was even, and then just in that final game, famous game, should have a look at it to beat Topalov as black and retain his chess world championship. Okay, good. What we might do now is have a quick look at the tier list. So we haven't added any big blunders for a little while now. We've still got Kramnik's one from 2006, Bishop takes f8. That was Kramnik-Topalov match. And then some of these Anand and Kramnik ones we've been looking at, and then Topalov ones, right? They're all sort of, in this mid tier. Just for completeness now, we're now up to 136 blunders, which we've gone through, which is like 3 or 4 a match. And I say that the blunders are getting a little bit more sophisticated as we go through time, because obviously the standard of the play has been improving as we go forward in history. Okay, that's good. That's the blunder list. That's the tier list. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. And next time we'll be on to Anand versus Gelfand.